Good morning, everybody. How are you? How are your shrimps? How is your day going? It is absolutely wonderful to be here. Sorry, I could not stream Wednesday. I have a lot going on right now, but that is besides the point. We are here today, and today is all that matters. So today what I have for you guys is my Caridina cold tank. So this is a mixed Caridina tank. I have all kinds of shrimp in this tank. I have some red pintos, some blue mazuras, or shadow mazuras, I should say, tangerine tigers, crystal blacks, crystal reds, orange eye blue tigers, all kinds of shrimp in this tank. So, and you can see that they are absolutely ravenous and consuming the food at a fast rate. Boris Islar, how are you? Welcome to the stream. I'm good. How about yourself? Tim, hello, good morning, sir. That's going to be annoying. My table rocks every time I click on something. You guys get a shaky day. No shaky days. So how's everybody doing this morning? How's your day been? How's your day going? How are you? How are you doing today? Brian! You are here. How are you, sir? Marlost, how are you? Antonio Rosa, how are you? How's everybody doing today? So I didn't get a stream Wednesday, and my last stream I was struggling with just the shrimp staying on camera. So I figured today what we'll do is I'm gonna slap a feeding dish in my Caridina or my mixed Caridina tank, and we'll do a mixed Caridina feeding. And as you see, there are tons of shrimp in this tank, absolutely bunches and bunches of shrimp, and they are all happy, hungry, and ready to perform for you guys and gals and non-gender specific people of any background. Yes, Nightbots, thank you. Join the Shrimp Enthusiast Discord. Let's get an emoji bomb going for all of our members. Thank you, Tim. You guys are amazing, and that is what pays for shrimp food. So definitely appreciate you all. So in this tank, we have Shadow Missouri coals, which are my Blue Bolt coals, and they just have some of those blue Shadow Missouri traits to them, as well as crystal blacks, crystal reds, some golden bees, tangerine tigers, orange eye blue tigers, red pintos. This tank is absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of shrimp in it, and it is my favorite. Of course, besides the calcios. I love shrimp. I love mama. He loves his mama. I had shipped some shrimpment at a shrimpment that I sent out to New York to Tim over at Crypt Keeper Aquatics, and his video has been uploading all day. So hopefully soon you guys can go check that out. Check out his channel and see my shrimp in the flesh at his tank in his house. Oh, I also have some raccoon shrimp in here. Yeah. So these guys are going crazy. This is insane. I never expected them to swarm this much in the feeding dish. So this is working out better than I ever hoped. Brian says, stressing out about my underground filter boxes. I put an Aqua L mini pat filter on top instead of an air pump, but it's not working out. Got a new air pump in today, so it'll be a busy weekend. What was going on with the power head? Was it just not performing like you wanted to, or was it just too much power? Because I put a power head on a sponge filter in one of my tanks, and it was a small tank, and the shrimp were going for a ride, that's for sure. Tim says, I believe the uploads have finished. Good. Well, we'll have to check those out later. Is that a buried female? So I've yet to see any shrimp bury in this tank. Don't know why. Probably could test the water parameters and tell you. But a lot of the shrimp that have been put into this tank were juveniles at the time. So a lot of younger shrimp, a lot of my coals. So they may have just not gotten to that, breeding stage, or maybe I'm just neglecting the tank by not feeding it enough. Whatever the case may be, I have not seen any buried shrimp in this tank yet. See a couple babies, but that's about it. There's a little blue bolt baby right there in the front, but that could have switched over. That could have came over from some moss, could have came over from some floating plants. I get all kinds of different shrimp in each tank because I move stuff around. Kept clogging up. Yeah, I think too much power. That could do it because you're creating so much flow through that filter box, and depending on what kind of sponge material you used underneath, if it wasn't a coarse sponge, if you use like polyfill, which is more of a water polishing, that can get bogged down really quick. So I've looked into the underground filters a little bit, but I haven't done too much research into them. I know for the most part, you have your standpipe. You have either like light diffuser or some type of grate to give you a gap for water flow through the bottom. You put your foam down, small foam pad, and then you put your active soil on top. So that foam pad, if you use like polyfill, which is really porous, really tight pores, that's going to clog up super quick. That's going to restrict the flow, and you're not going to get the desired effect. Now, if you do coarse sponge that's too thick, then you may have your soil fall through the sponge, but you got to have some massive holes if you're going to do like a sponge that thick. So for the most part, you use a coarse sponge, I believe. I've been planning my own because I don't like to spend money. I like to spend money where it counts. But if you have 15 tanks, $10 a filter, that's $150. So if I could make them for $3, I'd rather make them. So I've been toying around with the idea of the underground filters. Anybody know any crosses you can do with blue pandas? You can cross blue pandas with anything. Now, what you'll get, couldn't tell you. Didn't use foam, just substrate. Okay. Do you have that like gap below so that there's water flow, or is it just straight standpipe into the substrate? Yeah, underground filter boxes are not my specialty. But from my understanding, they're the most efficient because they buffer the water the best. Maybe I'll do an experiment one day and see. We will see what the ultimate filter is. Tim says, I'm no fan of them. You're no fan of mine. Obscure movie reference. Who gets it? Give you a hint. Sweet Feet. These guys are amazing. I could watch this tank all day. Yeah, those red pentos are turning out really cool looking. There's a couple of them in there that look like they have some galaxy patterns, which is cool. So definitely can't wait to set up a tank of these by themselves. Oh, calm down there, fish. I don't think we could fit any more shrimp in that feeding dish if we tried. And he pours a cup of coffee, and only fills it halfway. This song's been stuck in my head all day. Yeah, that's definitely a big pile of shrimp for sure. So many colors. Tim says so many colors. Yeah. Mixed Caridina tanks like this are really cool to look at because you have so many different things going on at once. And I wouldn't mind just leaving this tank how it is and seeing what happens. But there's a lot of genetics in here that I want to isolate and I want to separate by themselves because I would like to start a colony of the blue shadow Mazuras, and I'd like to start a colony of the golden bees as well as the red pintos. So if I leave them all into one tank, I can't really start those colonies. But I'm always going to have coals, so I'm always going to have a tank that I can just have tons of shrimp in and do whatever they want. And there's a lot of tangerine tigers in here because my green aura tank, my tangerine tiger and my aura blue tank throw a lot of tangerine babies. So these may be F1 crosses, they may be straight tangerines, but either way, I'm going to put them into their own tank so that way we can have a tangerine tiger tank by itself. Hey, Ryan, how are you, man? Big Z. So I just culled quite a few more of the blonde orange eye blue tigers. The blonde orange eyes. Some of them had some blue to them. Most of them were mostly just that like clear color, which they still look really cool. They've got the dark black stripes and then that clear body with the orange eyes. It's just that's not what I'm going for in that tank, so I pulled them out. Merlost asks, isn't the tangerine gene dominant over many others? I believe so. I believe that is closest to the wild types. So you see more of that come out than anything else. And that's what I've heard, and that's kind of what I've experienced with crossing and that tank. Is a lot of the F1s will look more tangerine tiger-ish. And in this tank, I've got some tangerine tigers that am I so low? There we go. I've got some tangerine tigers that have red stripes. So instead of having that black stripe, they're yellow with red stripes. And you may be able to see them on here. I know with the live streams, the focus isn't the greatest. You can more just see a blob of color with these guys. But there's a couple of them in there that have red stripes, which look really cool. And it'd be nice to set up a tank for just those. I get them occasionally in my aura tank, and I know there's a couple of them in there now that I need to cull out and keep separate. So I may put those in a separate tank. I may just add those to the tangerine tigers and see if we can get some more of them. And then once I have, somewhat decent colony, or if I have a male and female with the red stripes, I'll try to breed those together. We'll see what happens. Select Pet says, sup all. Can't stay long, probably. Well, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it. Ryan says, I do love this Skittles tank. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite. It's a fun tank to watch. And if you don't have room for a bunch of tanks, throwing a bunch of Caridina into one tank, just letting them do their thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Especially because you'll get some interesting looking babies sometimes. I'm liking that I have quite a few of the golden bees because those are my favorite. One of my favorites. I love all shrimp. Like if you could quote how many times I've said those are my favorite. This is my favorite tank. I've got a problem. Hi, my name is Kyle. I started out with cherry shrimp, And then I moved on to Blue Dream and Black Rose. And now I'm planning a whole shrimp room. My name's Kyle. I'm addicted to shrimp. Tank tie, cross, pure red line. Tang Tai cross pure red line. Always wondered what happens. Google is not my friend for these questions. Fancy tigers, super fancy reds, something like that. I think that's how you get those fancy tiger shrimp. I think they're called super reds or fancy tigers, one of the two. Pretty sure. A couple generations though. I don't think it's like instant. Definitely got to do some crossing back and forth, but Murlaw says that's how we started as well. You get one tank and then it goes downhill. Ryan says, hi, my name is Ryan, and I don't help Kyle with his problem. I'm an enabler. We enable each other. And that's okay. You can see that red up front. So that tangerine tiger up front there has those red stripes. Well, now that it's getting consumed by the rest of the tangerine tiger pack. Yeah, we all started with one tank. We had one tank, and then we had another, and then we had another. I started off with the Oscar tank. No, I started off with my 60 gallon, and then that became the Oscar tank. And then I got the 75, and I still have the 60 gallon. And then the rest is history. Yeah, my shrimp tanks used to be just two 20-gallon longs. I had a 20-gallon long. No, I started with the 39, the 29. So I had this tank right here, this tank that you're looking at. I had this tank. This was my first shrimp tank. I set up a cherry shrimp tank, and it was a dirted tank. So I put organic potting soil down. I capped it with sand, and then I had all kinds of plants in there. And that was my cherry shrimp tank. And I bred some of the most beautiful cherry shrimp that were around this area. Everybody was hitting me up for them. And then colony crash. I don't know if I didn't do enough water changes, did too many water changes. I was still learning, but I had tons of shrimp in that tank, and then all of a sudden they just didn't do well. And then it became my coal tank for Neos after I set up the 220-gallon longs. And that did okay, but that still struggled. So I figured it had to do with the organic potting mix. So I finally broke the whole tank down and set up this one. And now I have a Caridina coal tank. Marla says, one tank with one Neocaridina, and then you need coal tanks, and then you notice black diamonds and blue dreams, and you need another. That's exactly how it goes. I crossed my red cherries with my blue dreams, started getting black rose, so now I needed another tank, and then I started getting wild type, so I needed a coal tank, and then I decided to break them all down and throw them all in the 60-gallon and set up Caridina tanks. And here we are. Ryan says, that's how we became friends. Yes. So me and Ryan used to be coworkers. We joked around and talked, but never really hung out outside of work. And then I got a new job and we were on Facebook, and come to find out he has a whole house full of fish tanks, and I was starting to get to that point. So after that, we started going around to the different shops and hanging out more, and now we're friends. It all started with my mom met my dad, and then they had me. Oh, we're not even talking about tubs of plants. Tanks are one thing. I have a bucket or a bowl. I have a giant Tupperware bowl that's probably 1 gallon that has just snails breeding in it. They don't talk about that when you get a fish tank. they don't tell you that every single container you own is now going to be some type of ecosystem that you've decided not to dump. So it started out, I put cholla wood in this bowl to soak and kind of break down a little bit after it was in a tank, after it wiped this tank. So the cholla wood I had wiped this tank right here completely. The cholla wood broke down or something happened. There was still cactus pieces on it, and it just completely obliterated all of my coals. Every single coal shrimp I had, except that large male up front. That's one of the standouts. He's the only one that really survived from that experience. But completely wiped out everything. So I was like, oh, you know what? The cholla wood's still good. It just needs to break down some more. So I tossed it in a bowl. And now there's a colony of ram's horns in there that I top off the water and feed them. And so that's one thing they don't talk about when you get an aquarium. You go to the fish store and they're like, oh yeah, it'll be fun, this and that. They don't tell you that your house is going to be full of tanks. Every Tupperware container or storage tote that you have will at some point become a breeder box or plant grow out or whatever it may be. They don't tell you that you're gonna set up tubs and totes all around your house, and needs to have a disclaimer somewhere. If it can hold water, you're gonna try to put something alive in it. Marla says, and then came interest and fascination into Caridinas. Yep. Yeah, Ryan, I'll get more Neos. They do well out here as far as like selling. They're a good moneymaker. I'm not a big fan of Neocaridina anymore, just because there's a lot of culling involved. You gotta constantly be on top of it. You can spend 2 years with the colony, don't cull it for 3 months, and it's back to wild types or crappy quality. It's unfortunate. Like my cherry colony, I worked on that for 1.5 years, and then all of a sudden, I neglect it for a little bit. I don't hard cull it anymore, and they're back to wild types or like low grade cherries. And it's kind of frustrating to see, like, okay, I spent 1.5 years making these guys look amazing, and stop culling for a month, and now they're back to crap again. That's not right. Tim says, yeah, I've got way more than I originally wanted. That's all right. We all enable each other. Plan on adding a lot to. Yes, the plans never stop. You will continue to plan to add more. Like, look at Grant Eater. He's got IBC totes in his backyard for breeding Neos. He's got a greenhouse full of buckets and tubs, and he's building a massive new rack for more shrimp. Like, I know it's a business for him, but this is what the hobby does to you. You start with one tank, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to turn this into a business. And then that's pretty cool. Yeah. And if you listen to his origin story on how he got into shrimp, it's pretty neat. He grew up in Florida, so going into the canals and stuff and getting all the grass shrimp and seeing all those and catching fish, and that's kind of how I started as well, because I got ghost shrimp. I got ghost shrimp for my community tank, and I was like, these guys are awesome. I love them. They're amazing. Their little hands and their feeding, and just I could watch them for hours. And then I had one berry up, and I was like, okay, I want to breed these guys. And looking on the internet, it's kind of hard to breed them depending on what type of ghost shrimp you have. Some ghost shrimp breed like Neos. Some ghost shrimp have larvae, which you need to transition to like saltwater and brackish water and all that. So it depends on which type of ghost shrimp you got. So I just assumed like, oh, I can't breed them. And then watching them, berry up and then never seeing any babies, I thought to myself, I'm like, all right, I want to breed some shrimp. I want to find some shrimp to breed. And I had always bred mollies. Like as a kid, I got live bears because I wanted to breed fish. I wanted to see babies. I wanted to see the life cycle, and it was a lot of fun. I'd catch tadpoles and let them turn into frogs, and so I wanted to breed some shrimp. So I started with cherry shrimp. I started with Neos and struggled. I'm a man. I'm not afraid to admit this. I cried over frustration with these dang cherry shrimp because I'm a perfectionist and I was doing everything right that I could and was struggling. Just I would have die-offs, I'd have this, I would have that, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was ready to toss the whole tank in the trash and just be done with it. Like you could ask Amber, my wife, and she'll attest to my frustration with it. But then I figured it out. I got the cherry shrimp breeding, and I became this successful shrimp breeder. I was making, close to $500 a month on just selling shrimp and plants, and I was doing good at it. And I expanded. I got some blue dream, got some black rose, started mixing shrimp, and my YouTube channel went from plants to shrimp. So kind of overnight, I decided I'm no longer going to do content on fish. I like fish, but I'm not passionate about it. And my YouTube channel became a shrimp channel. And I've created this. Well, I don't want to say created this community, but I've joined this community of shrimp keepers. You guys here and everybody in the hobby. And the support is amazing. Everybody supports each other. Everybody helps each other out. And from that point, everybody said, you need to get Caridina. You need to move into Caridina. I know Tater Salad, Brian Dotson, you guys have been watching me grow from the start and always joking around with me like, oh yeah, your Neos are great, but get some Caridina. And so finally I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get some crystal reds, get some crystal blacks. I set up a Caridina tank and I was like, this is easy. These are easier than Neos. Like now that I got the basics down, like Caridina shrimp, you basically set the tank up and leave them. Feed them every couple days, do your water changes once a week. And I know people struggle with them, but I would say Caridinas are more hardy than Neos. It's just a matter of, once you have the basics down, don't do large water changes, drip the water back in, put the soil in, make sure your water parameters are good. They'll breed like crazy. And so the shrimp community has been amazing and helped me on my journey. Mark, Grant, there's all kinds of people out there. Shelly, everybody is great. And it's nice to be a part of a hobby where everybody wants you to succeed and everybody wants you to do well and helps you out. And so there's my story. Get rambling for a little bit. Now you know my life story about shrimp. Merla says, getting more soon. Almost entire living room was filled. Hey, Shelly, how are you? F Neos. I'm with you. Like I said, I've shed some tears over my Neo tanks, and they can be very frustrating. I know me and Shelly have had this conversation about to Neo or not to Neo, and they're good money makers. It's just with the culling of them, you can go backwards so fast. You can spend so much time on them, and then forget to cull. You get that one male that looks pretty, but his genes are terrible, and now he's spread his ugly genes everywhere, and it's hard to it's hard to keep up with them. Like Caridina are so much easier. Like plus they're nicer looking. They look a lot nicer. Shelly says, I do still have one rack of Neos. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still going to set up some Neo tanks just because, it is a good beginner shrimp because they do well in a wide variety of water parameters. You can drip acclimate Neos to basically any type of tap water and they'll do okay as long as it's not super soft water. Like it's got to be a little bit harder, but they do take a range of parameters. As long as you've got some KH, some GH in there, they'll be okay. And that they're a great community shrimp. They're a great cleaner shrimp, and they do well in large parameter switches. So like I've got a colony of Neos in my 60 gallon to where I'll drain this tank 90% and I'll fill it back up and the shrimp do fine. I'm not dripping the water back in. I'm not matching the temperature. I'm not matching the parameters at all. I drain the tank down, I fill it back up, and they're all good. So in that aspect, Neos are great. But if you want to specifically change your water parameters, if you want to set up a tank that's specific to breed these shrimp, then Caridina is definitely the way to go. Shelly says, I had orange Neos booming and Caridina parameters. Oh, make my eyes water. I think it's just the orange shrimp in general. So tangerine tigers, orange Neos, they're very prolific. They like to multiply. All right. Well, I rambled for a good 10 minutes on that. So what's everybody else doing today? Anybody got any questions for me? Thank you, Nightbot. Nightbot says, join the Shrimp Enthusiast Discord. Shelly asks, how's the house coming? Very stressful. So we put in our 30 days at the beginning of this month, and we have to be out at the end of the month. So our first inspection was supposed to be today. That's why I'm off work. We were supposed to do our final walkthrough today, and then we're supposed to sign on the 15th. They tell us 2 days ago that they don't have the bathroom vanity and that our closing's been pushed out a week or two. And I'm like, what? I lose my interest rates on the 23rd, and I have to be out of this house by the 30th. So 2 weeks doesn't work. Like, I don't know what you got to do. You got to go steal a vanity from Lowe's or, do the final walkthrough with no vanity and just give me keys. Whatever you got to do to make this work. I don't have the luxury of a week or two. We have to get this done. So more to come with that. I'm streaming today to take my mind off of it because I'm pretty stressed out. So we'll move on from that question. Nope, I haven't talked about the house. Sully says, just popped in, so maybe you already talked about the house. I'm scratching, itching. Yeah, it's been a stressful month for sure. And I'll be glad once we get keys, once we're moved in and everything's done. Buying a house is super stressful. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. If I didn't have animals, it wouldn't be an issue. Like, oh yeah, I'll go live in a hotel for a week or this and that. We'll put all our stuff on a truck, whatever we need to do. But I know I joke around. Let's change the subject. I'm trying to stay positive about it, which has been good. I'm having faith and I'm manifesting that everything is going to be fine. We will get our keys before our rates expire. We'll get our keys before we have to leave this place. So everything's going to work out. Shelly says, I'm trying to make friends with the local crow. Are you offering it trinkets or treats? How do you make friends with a crow? That's definitely interesting. You can see one of those reds up front there. Fries, yeah. You could definitely make friends with me if you feed me French fries. Like that's cool. Shelly says, Paco and I go to get lunch at this place up the road every Friday. I take it you're just feeding French fries every week. He's there every time. So today we threw some fries out for him. He took the bait. Last time me and Amber went to lunch, there was a roadrunner in the park. We wanted to go have like a picnic type situation, and so we drove to the park, and it was a weekend, so all the tables were taken. So we kind of just sat in the car and ate and rolled the windows down to enjoy the weather. And we look, and there's a roadrunner running by. We've got a wild out here. We've got quail, we got roadrunner, we got all kinds of stuff. So we looked at it, and I wonder if we can get him to come over here. So she tosses a fry out there, and he makes this big loop, like he could see it, and then she tosses another one, and then he finally comes up and he grabs him, and he was sitting right outside her window, and she was tossing fries to him. So it was pretty cool. But you can make friends with him. If it's the same one there every time, I'm sure he'll recognize you. Crows are pretty smart. Howdy ho, Cal. Hey, John, how are you, man? Ryan says, let me know when you need me in advance to help you get moved. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll let you know once I know. Once I know when I'm actually moving, we'll figure it out. If I have to move in 2 days, we will. We'll make it happen. The good news is Carol, our builder, told us that we'll absolutely close in April. She's like, you'll absolutely close in April. Now, if that's at the end of April, that only gives me a couple days to move. But that's okay. We will cross that bridge when we get there. In the grand scheme of things, I will never be homeless, and I will be okay. So it's, if you look at it that way, it's not the end of the world. Everything will be all right. Yeah, it's stressful right now, but we'll be all right. So if you're spiritual, if you're the praying type or positive vibes person, speedy thoughts. Everything will get done fast. We'll be in there. We'll have plenty of time to move. So you got to manifest that. Put that out there in the universe. Everything will be okay. Everything will be all right. I'm just telling myself that it'll be okay. It's all going to be fine. John says, getting overrun with plicklets again. Yes, you are the plico master, though, man. You're always going to have baby plicos. Tim says, will you be getting an RO system with the new house? Yeah, I've been looking at them, trying to figure out which one I want to get. I've heard good things about Spectra Pure. I've heard good things about Bulk Reef Supply. So I think as of right now, the one I'm leaning towards is the 6-stage water saver from Bulk Reef Supply. I want to say it's $200-$300, something like that. But with our hard water out here, I almost have to do something like that. I can't just buy one of the cheap ones because there's so many carbonates in our water that the cheap ones are just going to overflow, and I'm going to have to, not overflow, but they're going to fill up really quick, and I'm going to have to keep changing out those membranes very often. Positive vibes and scrimp power. Thanks, John. Tim says, I know I'm ready too, and I've just started using it with this new setup you've been helping me with. Haha. I'm sick of lugging jugs from the store each week. I've been doing it for a year almost, Tim. So every week, twice a week almost. It's not too bad though. You know, you get those 5-gallon jug muscles. However it is, we can figure it out. Shelly asks, what's the TDS of the water out there? I've seen it up to 600. So it does get pretty high, and it can be pretty high. But it ranges from 400 to 600. It's pretty hard. Our GH last time I checked was close to 30. It was like 28 drops. So it's no joke. It's quite a bit. See, Ryan even says it was 600. That is what it is. That's why they make RO units. But that proves my point with Neos, though, that they can survive in that hard water. Because I've got Neos in the tank behind me, and that's to have a 28 point GH and 18 KH. Like that's pretty high up there. Our pH is like 8.5, something like that. It's ridiculous. At least 8. Like if you drink our tap water, you will never have any like calcium issues or anything. You'll never be deficient in those minerals, that's for sure. John says that's not water. You have liquid Chuck Norris in your taps. Yeah. We call it liquid rock. Because it's basically what it is. Somebody powdered up a bunch of rock and added it to water. No, it's liquid Dwayne Johnson. He's better looking than Chuck Norris. Come at me, Chuck Norris. Let's go. So, funny fact about Chuck Norris, there is a Chuck Norris book that is just a bunch of jokes, like Chuck Norris jokes. Like under Chuck Norris, fist is or beard is just another fist. And he has tried so hard to get this book like pulled for like trademark infringements, and he has no rights to any of this stuff, and it's unfortunate, but it's he can't get it pulled. John says, I have liquid rock, yours is harder. Tim says, mine is awful here too. Insanely hard water, pH 8.6, GH 17, KH 11, TDS 550 to 650, depending which reservoir they're using that day. Yeah, our pH is about the same. My GH, like I said, 28, man. 28. KH 18. It's ridiculous. I don't even know like how that's possible. Is it just where are they storing this? Do they have like a powdered mineral factory that they decided to turn into a reservoir? Yeah, I know New York's hard for water. You got to think that a lot of those buildings there have been around for a long time. It's not newly developed, so who knows what kind of stuff you got in there. Yeah, I'm still waiting for babies in this tank. I haven't seen any buried females yet. It's funny. Usually when I say that, I'd be like, "Oh, there's one. There's a female that's buried." John says, "Thing is, Chuck Norris is actually a soft and sweet guy. Certainly not some Stevie Seagal." Yeah, I've heard good things about Chuck Norris. Steven Seagal is a little full of himself. Steven Seagal is a police officer. It's terrifying. Yeah, this tank is turning out really cool. I definitely love this tank. Makes you feel old, right, Ryan? Ryan says, can't believe Chuck Norris is like 70 years old now. I still can't believe Betty White's gone. And she's been around as far as I can remember. Yeah, some of the shrimp in this tank are starting to hit that maturity level that I should be seeing some berries here soon. Unless they all just happen to be male. And that's why I culled them, was because of their colors. John says, if Chuck had told that joke about Jada, Will Smith would have slapped himself for laughing. You know what they found on Chris Rock's face, right? Fresh Prince. Oh, is that berries? Show me your belly. That looks like a male, though. I'm going to have to go up there and peep this tank and see. The Blue Bolt that has the Tangerine Tiger on it looks like it may have eggs, but the body style looks like a male, not a female. I guess it's kind of got a skirt. That's definitely a female right there that just swam in. So yeah, should be seeing some berries here soon. Some of those red pintos are definitely getting older too. You can see that one right up front. She's got some good size to her. Yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of offspring we're going to get from this tank, because definitely all kinds of shrimp in here. So who knows who's going to breed with who and what's going to come from it. There's no telling for sure. There's one blue bolt in there that looks like a straight shadow Missouri. Like it's got that super dark head. I remember when that one was a little guy too. I called him when he was tiny, so he's definitely gotten bigger for sure. And there's quite a few of them in there that have that pretty pronounced head spot, like that one right up front. So there's quite a few I can separate out to get that style of shrimp. So what's everybody got going on today? Anything exciting? Anything fun? What are we doing? John says, my Skittles tank seems to have gone through the wild stage and is now producing even weird colors and patterns than before. What kind of stuff are you getting out of it? Because I know when I mixed my blues and my reds, I was getting some crazy patterns. I know I've said this before, but I had what I called USA shrimp. So they were clear and red and blue. So they had some clear spots, they had some blue spots and some red spots. Hey, Huang Nguyen, how are you? Huang says, hi, what do you get if you mix red tiger and black tiger together? I don't know. What do you get? I'm not sure. So you may get a combination of both. Shelly, if you're still in here, if you know the answer, or if anybody else knows the answer, feel free to chime in. But I haven't mixed black tiger or red tigers before. Hey, Jason, how are you? Jason says, moving into a new house this afternoon. We'll be breaking down and restarting my 75-gallon planted tank. Sometimes that's exciting. Sometimes it's stressful. I know my 60-gallon planted behind me, I'm thinking about completely breaking down and getting rid of the sand and doing like an eco-complete or something. I haven't decided on what I want to do with it. I like the sand substrate because I've got coolie loaches in there and I've got Cory catfish. So I know some substrates aren't good for them. So you got to be careful with that. John says, spotted some green wild striped this morning. Nice. That's exciting. It's almost like a green really. Excuse me. I'm all out of the caffeine. Ugh. Oh, I was sitting in that position for too long. Oh, that felt good. Yes, if you would like to become a member of the Poseidon's Posse, feel free to do so. Only $2 a month. Helps support my channel. Definitely appreciate it. Don't in any way feel obligated to do so, but you get some fun emojis. You get to do like the little emoji bombs like we got here. And the more members I get, the more of these little shrimp emojis I can create. So if you want to support me, want to support my channel, yeah, there you go, Tim. Shrimp emojis for the win. All right, so I will stream for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to jump off and find something to do with my extra day off today because I'm not doing my walkthrough on my house. All right, let's see here. Huang says, can you put Cory in shrimp tank? Can you put a Cory in a shrimp tank? You can. I have shrimp in my tank behind me with Cory's, and they, for the most part, they don't really go after them actively. It's not like they're hunting them like some predatory fish. They will eat baby shrimp if they can. It's like anything, you know, if it fits in their mouth, they're going to eat it. So adult shrimp will be fine, but if you want to breed your shrimp, or if you want to save the babies, make sure you add a lot of hiding places, like lots of moss, lots of plants, so that way the babies can hide in as they get bigger. Baby shrimp are pretty quick, and Cory's can be pretty slow. They're not a fast predatory fish. So if a baby shrimp's in front of them and they're foraging around, they're going to eat it, but they're not going to actively seek out your shrimp to eat. Guppies might. Guppies are kind of jerks. Guppies and endlers. Absolutely. Yeah, John's correct. But like I said, I don't feel like they're going to actively hunt out your shrimp. If they see one, they may give it a little chase. But for the most part, Cory's are, how can I describe this? They're like a house cat. Like if they see a mouse in front of them, they may like go for it and be like, oh, a mouse. But for the most part, they're not going to chase after it. As long as you keep them fat and happy, they'll be okay. It's like the old house cat you have for 10 years and it sees a mouse cross its path. It's like, I could go for that or I couldn't. I don't care. Huang says, thank you. No problem. Glad to help. Sorry I couldn't answer your black tiger, red tiger question. Tim says, what is a few good option for a fish to add to the coal tank? Some babies being consumed isn't a big deal, but still want to have some survive. Think Rasboras would be okay. I've always been a strong believer of no fish in a shrimp tank. So as far as like a safe option goes, something slow moving that isn't really predatory. So a lot of like the tetra family is kind of predatory. Tetras will eat your babies. Tetras will eat your shrimp. So I would steer clear of those. John says, Cory or Cory's. No other thing is similar. John says, CPDs are great for shrimp tanks. Clown plecos too. What's a CPD? Yeah, I've had, what are the little plecos? I can't think of them right now. Totally drawing a blank. But yeah, there's a few fish that you can have in with shrimp. I try not to because each fish is different, and it depends on what type of fish you get that will attack the shrimp. If you have a lot of hiding places, then you should be okay. But celestial pearl Daniel, there you go. Yeah, I'm not a fish keeper. I'm a plant and shrimp keeper. So like I like my Oscars and my mollies and my live bears. That's about as in depth as my fish knowledge goes. I know quite a bit about fish, but not as much as some people. I know Ryan. Ryan knows quite a bit about fish. He can walk into a store and tell you everything that's in there. And for the most part, I can identify a lot of stuff, but I've grown out of my fish habit. Yeah, I've heard Danios are pretty good as well as the Rasboras. Like I said, I know tetras are pretty predatory, and that's just from my own experience. You know, you think of tetras as not being, but I've watched them hunt down mollies as they're giving birth and just sit there eat the babies. I've watched them go after my ghost shrimp, specifically black skirt tetras, but I know they are part of the same family, and they can be pretty predatory, especially when you watch them swim. I've had some guppies that are kind of jerks too. So auto sinkless catfish, that's what I was thinking. So autos are relatively shrimp safe, but at the same time, they will eat baby shrimp. And it's more of like an opportunity thing. It's not a hunting down and killing them type of thing. But I've had mollies in with my shrimp, and they've never really messed with them. The guppies, they're okay too, but it all depends on each fish. I've had some guppies that will hunt down shrimp. Just I don't know if it's in their genes or what, but I've had some jerk guppies. All right. We are at the hour mark, and my attention span has faded. So I am going to go ahead and end the stream. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much for coming in here and hanging out with me for the last hour. Definitely appreciate it. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. Goodbye. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.